And good morning. Here we are at QuiltChat again.
It's another happy Wednesday.
Well, and so do you know what? I thought it'd be fun today if we talked about applique. And I don't know about you, but when I first started quilting, that was like the A word that everybody tried to avoid. But you know, today we have so many different ways to do it. And so how do you do your applique, Betsy?
Oh, I'm a purist. I love needle turn applique.
It's beautiful.
All right.
And I especially like it back-based style.
Back-based.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
All right.
How about you?
Well, I like needle turn too. I just turn it with the needle as I go. Yeah.
Have you ever tried those, I can't think of the name of them, the little sticks that you use to...
Oh, the toothpicks? Yes.
Well, there was actually,
they're fancy little toothpicks.
Yeah, fancy little toothpicks that you
Yes.
work your fabric with.
And you stick them in your mouth, and especially if you have a part that is hard to turn, sometimes that will just catch it because the wood is a little bit rough as opposed to your needle.
Right.
Yes. But gosh, let's talk about the other kinds of applique there are, because you know, you can do freezer paper on top and freezer paper on the bottom. What else?
Well, there's machine applique, of course.
Right.
And all the worlds of fusing.
I wonder if anybody remembers, like I do, doing machine applique sweatshirts and things. Was that maybe the 80s?
Yeah.
In
early 90s.
Early 90s. It could have well been.
Definitely.
Yes, where it was a simple process of fusing. It wasn't quilting, of course, but it was an applique process, and a lot of home crafters got a lot of fun out of picking their fabrics and choosing the designs for
Cute
machine
little
applique.
sweatshirts.
And I bet a lot of teachers got those as gifts
Yes,
too,
I know. I gave some.
Absolutely.
Well, okay, and so you know, we know the English paper piecers. They do some applique when they put stuff on a background.
Right. You could English paper piece any kind of design and then put it on top of a background, and it's lovely.
All right, so let's back up. For those that aren't really familiar with what applique is, applique really means you're applying on something else, doesn't it?
Yes.
And so this quilt that we have laying here on the table is by Becky Campbell, and it was quilted by Sharon Vitt. And Becky has kind of a unique technique that she uses.
She does, and it's outlined here in her book, Holly Jolly, and also on her iQuilt class.
Yes, and it's called Innovative Applique.
Yes, but she uses batting, like warm and natural, behind it, and cuts out the shapes, but leaves gaps in between where there would be overlaps.
And you can tell that she builds it up too in some places for real.
So you can
depth.
see that she gets this nice stitching where she comes in the ditch and stuff like that. So it looks really pretty.
It's hard to keep our hands off of this.
It
isn't
is.
it?
It's very
puffy,
soft.
so you want to push on
You
it.
want to touch it.
And something else that she has done is to actually quilt over this puffy applique. It really gives a lot of dimension.
It does.
And on these pieces, she's done in the ditch around the pieces to be able to get the dimension in that particular petal. Well, it's a great quilt by Becky, and we were commenting about how well this big print works for the sashing in this quilt.
And one that you wouldn't normally or wouldn't sometimes pick for a sashing, but it worked perfectly for this.
I would have never thought of it. It's just too large scale and too many colors for me to think of it as like a sashing. I would have backing fabric, definitely. But when she chops it up so small, you get such a narrow piece of it. You get tons of movement and lots of color. And then the little black border that she sewed on just pops
That really
it
sets it
straight
off.
out. And it does a great job mixing with all her colors, doesn't it?
And this is all hand appliqued too, by the way, in case you're wondering about that.
Yes, and then machine quilted.
And machine quilted.
And don't you wonder whether Becky bought the fabric and pulled it out of her stash, or if
that's a
she took her
great
blocks
question.
to the shop and
found
started
something to
laying it
match.
on the fabric.
Wow.
It could have been either
It'd
way.
be interesting to find out.
Yeah, it would.
Absolutely can, yes.
Well, all right, so we have another applique quilt behind us, and that is
MONET.
MONET in Pasadena by Melinda Bula, and hers is raw edge.
With really wonderful detailed stitching on top of it. Very, very heavily quilted.
That red painting's beautiful.
Well, and then the background at the top, she's done it so it looks like ripples in the water, the quilting. And on the leaves and the petals of the the flowers, she's actually gone with the shape of the flower and quilted
Right.
those designs in.
To make it look like the veins in the leaves and things.
Well, and if you want to learn more detail on that particular technique, Melinda Bula has an iQuilt class called Renegade Thread Play. And obviously she's done that from a photograph, done it with the raw edge applique, and then beautifully quilted it with
Yes.
thread.
Yes, that's a work of art, isn't it?
It is. It
It's
is.
very beautiful.
Well, last week we talked a little bit about the survey that we had online.
Yes, and we got over 2,000 responses.
Wow.
So thank you to everyone who took part. And so it was about quilt labels, and we were asking, first off, do you quilt label or do you not quilt label? And it was interesting that there were over 80 people out of the 2,000 that said no way.
No labels.
No way, no labels.
Well, I wonder why, or they just don't.
Well, some people felt that it was inappropriate for them to put their name on their quilt.
Oh.
Right?
When they gave
They're
it away,
very
it
But
wasn't
they're giving it to
theirs.
someone, and so it's not their quilt anymore, it's to them.
And they're
so
humble
it's a very
people.
generous heart, very generous heart. And so, but then there was quite a few more that were very concerned about the safety of their quilts, or the biggest reason why they were putting the labels on the back was for the historical value.
Sure.
So they could record. Because so many times we find these antique quilts and there's nothing on
Oh,
the back.
don't you wish you
And
had
wish
the
you knew who did
information?
it.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Well, and you know, every state did a quilt search project. And that was one of the things we learned from doing those projects was we need to document our work so that people know who made it. Another 50 or 100 years from now, they're going to be looking at our quilts. And they're going to know Betsy made this one and Bonnie
It will
made
be
this
so
one.
neat.
Right.
And so we took all the information that everybody shared, and they shared lots of great ideas, and put it into a comprehensive guide on quilt labels. You can find that on aqsblog.com, and it's all these great ideas together. But the ways to make a label, number one was from the scraps from the front of the quilt. So that was the favorite.
Coordinating.
Right? They like to coordinate. And number two was the framed muslin, so that's the traditional way.
Right.
Right. Number three is with your credit card, so you just go buy one. And then number four was photo transfer, which was interesting because a lot of the ideas had to do with photographs and what kind of photographs they wanted to put on the labels. So that's very popular right now. And then the other one I hadn't really worked with much is the corner pocket one. And they had crazy ideas about what to put in these pockets. One lady even said on a baby quilt to make it really big like a hoodie so you can put the baby in the pocket. Of course.
Sure.
Put
Why
it on
not?
its little head and wrap it up in the quilt.
Like a bath towel.
Right,
Only
yeah. And use that with your quilt
That's a
label.
cute
So
idea.
It was really cute, but they really work very creative. So there's a ton of really great ideas on there.
Now, did they tell you whether they were embroidering on those labels or are they using markers? And if they use markers, what kind of markers?
And
do
they
use?
actually did give us, anytime we got a recommendation, I put her on there.
Oh,
you
so
can
we
see the
can-
exact
you can find
brands that
those
they had
on the
luck
blog.
with. Yes. And embroidered was popular, but of course handwriting was the most popular. Computer printed was very popular. Yes. The hand embroidery was the lower one because I think just because it takes so much work.
Well, and you also did a little piece on using electric quilt to make your label.
Oh yes, we did a tutorial
Yes.
for EQ7 about how just a very simple tutorial on how to make the most basic, and you can take it from there and play and use quilt blocks, add photos. There's all sorts of things you can do with EQ7.
I haven't
To make
tried
your
that,
quilt
but I
labels.
am going to try it because I proofed that for you. And,
Yeah, you did.
and so it was like, that was something I've not done an electric quilt, so I'm anxious to try that.
I'd love to know if anybody that's listening has ideas.
Oh, yes,
even,
definitely.
Even after the fact when we're
So
not
guess
live.
what the number
Please
one thing
please
is
let
to
us
write
know.
on your quilt label?
With love. No.
Is it going to be a fact? I'll give you a hint. It's
Oh,
going to
a
be a
fact.
fact. With love would be really beautiful, though, of course.
Yes.
But the date.
The date.
The date
Oh,
is what
of
won.
course.
If you're going to write anything on there, they say, everybody was unanimous. They want the date on there. And then it was names. The name of the maker, the name of the quilt, the name of the recipient, and the name of the quilter were all the next ones that in that order.
Makes
You know,
sense.
I just mailed a quilt to a cousin of mine, and she decorates for Thanksgiving. And so while we were in the Des Moines show, they always do this silent auction, and I got one of the quilts that was pumpkins, and I did it with her in mind. And so on the back of it, I wrote a gift to Dolores from, and then my name, and then I wrote daughter of Paul Kirkland,
Oh, that's
because
clever.
somebody might come
Oh.
along and wonder, okay, so who is Bonnie Browning? And
Oh,
that doesn't
they just need
relate
go
to her
YouTube
at all.
And find out.
Yes. You're probably right. But they probably wouldn't find my dad's name attached to
Right.
that.
And then that will rank it for history for
That's so
your family.
cool.
That's wonderful.
Yes, and then I dated it October 2017.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I can't. She doesn't have it yet. It hasn't gotten there. But I have a bet with my mom to see whether she calls my mom first or me first
how
after she gets it.
fun.
She'll be excited.
She
But
will
that
be.
label adds an extra element of
Yes. It
attention
does.
that you've paid to that quilt to make it special.
And I just used a permanent marker.
Oh, that's
a-
wonderful.
A permanent marker to write that on the back
Absolutely.
corner.
So guess what the number one embellishment on your quilt label is?
Embroidery. No.
A cat.
Oh, actual
You wouldn't
thing.
believe how many people wrote in that they put cats on their quilt labels.
Well, sure they do.
And one of you likes dogs.
We know better than that.
That's
but,
true.
But
But
maybe
one
they
person
can
puts
draw a
dogs
cat
on there.
better.
But we have lots of people talk about how they put pictures, they draw little figures of their cats on their quilt labels.
Cute.
And one lady said she put a dog on there. So I got tickled though because I wasn't expecting cats in this survey, but they do show up almost every survey.
All right, now we're talking about applique, and we have a special program that's going on right now here at AQS. And that is if you go to Shop AQS and you buy the kit for Leanne Anderson's Fast and Fun Raw Edge Applique wall hanging,
It's so cute.
you're going to get her
Oh, it
iQuilt
is.
class free.
Oh, I
So-
hope everybody goes to look for it because it's really nice.
Yes, and she's an amazing teacher. She's so much fun.
So you could get the kit and then watch the class
Right.
for free.
That's
and
right.
she is actually making that wall hanging in the class.
In the class.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes. So, all right, so that about wraps it up for applique today.
It does.
Oh, fun.
But you know, we just opened registration yesterday for the Daytona AQS Quilt Week, which is February 28th through March 3rd. And we've opened it so far to members. If you want to register now so you get the first pick of the classes, if you will just call our registration department, that's just at 270-898-7903, and they can get your membership put in place, send you the link so you can go register. Otherwise, we'll open it up to the general public in 2 weeks.
And another year of AQS Quilt Week is about to begin.
Well, yes, and
Believe
you
it
don't
or
wanna
not,
miss
it's not
this
even
one.
November
Off
yet,
and running.
but we'll
The
be ready to go
hotel
in
is on
February.
the beach. The hotel is right there on the
Oh,
beach,
fun.
and
Yes.
across the street is the convention center. So it's an easy one to travel back and forth. And we've got wonderful teachers. So you need to go check out AQS Quilt Week for that. And we hope you'll join us again next week, right
Bye.
here in the AQS studio for Quilt Chat.